Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sunshine Coast Ocean Festival. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Talk 4 of our 2026 NEMO Talk Series. I'm Suzanne Sanger, the Executive Director of the Sunshine Coast Conservation Association. I'm joining this call today from Chequelp in Gibsons at Catsum Howe Sound on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Squamish Nation. The SCCA works to protect biodiversity across the Sunshine Coast Natural Resource District. It's 2 million hectares on the terrestrial side, not including the marine environment, from Howe Sound to Hamathko. And these are the territories of the Squamish, the shíshálh, Tliamin, Klahoose, and Hamalko First Nations. All of these nations have lived in close relationship with the lands, waters, and creatures of these territories since time immemorial, developing knowledge, governance systems, and stewardship practices rooted in a deep connection to the natural world. And that enduring knowledge actively guides stewardship across the region. The SCCA is deeply grateful to the nations for their ongoing work and their stewardship of these territories, and committed to supporting Indigenous leadership and conservation following their leadership. This year's festival is presented in partnership with Rhizome Up Media and Billy Carroll, who is our amazing film programmer. She curates just a remarkable set of live films as well as online films, and we hope you'll go to the Sunshine Coast Ocean Festival.ca website and check those out. The goal of this week and of this program is to learn, to be inspired, and to connect people, projects, and knowledge in service of meaningful action for our oceans. In the spirit of this year's United Nations World Oceans Day theme, Reimagine Beyond the World We Know, a new relationship with our ocean, we are very excited to host Ben Pierre and Gavin Joe from the Shíshálh Nation to share with us about the nation's marine stewardship work, historic and ongoing. Welcome, Ben and Gavin.
Yeah, Amos, Itaquile, Seitso Chin Squish. Welcome everyone. My English name is Ben Pierre. My ancestral name is Seitso. It was gifted to me from my uncle Jason Pierre. It's an honor to be here. I want to thank you guys for taking time and space and holding this talk to have that dialogue. And it's, like I said, it's a privilege to be here. And this is my childhood best friend. He works in the resource management department. Very grateful he was able to come and take time and sit with me today. I'll give him a minute to introduce himself.
Hi there, Gavin Joe. I've worked for resource management for the nation for close to 8 years now. It's very interesting work to be doing. It's nice being out in the field all the time.
Yeah. And for myself, this is my first term elected to Chief and Council. We were elected back in February, a few months into this. The part of the reason I took this is, if I'm going to talk the talk, I need to walk the walk with our stewardship, with our conservation, with our shíshálh morals and values and everything. So yeah, I just want to make that point. I'm a father of three. I raise three boys. They go to Connecticut Elementary. They're 12, 10, and 8 this year. And being able to learn about this stuff and then share that with them for their longevity and their future is important. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you all.
Awesome. Do you want to share the screen and the presentation, Hannah? Thank you.
So welcome to our NEMO talk. This is on marine stewardship from the Shíshálh Nation. I want to take a moment to recognize Evan Lee Dodick. He created this presentation for me, and then in tandem with Gavin, we're going to go through it. I also want to mention Sid Quinn. Many of you may know him. He worked for the nation for 40 years. He was, a big advocate. He did a lot of really good work for the nation. He's dearly missed. Coming into leadership, I feel a personal loss not being able to work with him and have him share that knowledge with me, but we have successors like Gavin working within the department that he did share that knowledge with, and I just want to take a moment to make sure we recognize Sid in this. So, and also to Holly Neat, who put my name forward. Thank you, Holly. I look forward to this opportunity. So we will proceed. Thanks, Hannah. Next slide. So the Shíshálh Nation Resource Management Department started back in 1993. The Resource Management Department supports the stewardship of fisheries, wildlife, and environmental resources across our Shíshálh territory. As mentioned, Gavin has been a part of this work for 8 years. It's like I said, I need to take this personally. Our nation has always been advocates for it, so it's nice to see that this has been going for as long as I've been alive, and hopefully for many more years too. Next slide, Hannah. So to start, we're going to start off with our shellfish surveys. They map and record shellfish harvesting, excuse me, locations throughout all of the Shíshálh Inlet and Jervis Inlet. Our resource management team monitors the health of the shellfish. They collect the data of lengths, weight, and aging for species and biomass standing stock in locations. There's also one more location just outside Half Moon Bay that wasn't included in this that Gavin mentioned that we actively survey.
Yeah, we usually go look over Sergeant's Bay and Half Moon Bay as well. We try to do at least 2 beaches a year in the inlet and on the outside, one on each side. We fell behind last year due to not having enough staffing, but we should be back out into the beaches within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, next slide, Hen. So part of the historic for Shíshálh salmon hatcheries, McLean Bay was one of them, as well as Vancouver Bay. So it was the enhancement of pink, chum, coho, Chinook salmon. McLean Bay was built back in 1978, operated till 2015. Recently, we worked with the DFO to remove the infrastructure that was here. Many years ago, there was a rock slide kind of above it that affected the stream, and because of that, it kept clogging up all of our filtration systems for the water supply for the hatchery. So unfortunately, we had to cease operations. The Vancouver Bay hatchery was given to the nation back in the 90s. We didn't really operate it for a whole long time. The infrastructure is still there. Talking with Gav, it kind of be a hope and a dream to resurrect a hatchery within our SWIA to help support that stock. Next slide, Hannah. So just a couple of old pictures from McLean Bay. I myself, when I was a little kid, it was still active. So getting to see the hundreds of salmons within the bay there was, as a fisherman, I always got super excited. But it's a little disappointing that my children don't really get to have that feeling. But like I said, in our future, maybe we can look at getting something like this back running and going for our community and the nation. Next slide. So part of this hatchery was the seine for the brock stock. In this picture is when they were reeling in some chum salmon for testing and everything. Next slide. Part of the hatchery work was releasing juvenile coho back into Grey Creek. So unfortunately, this hasn't happened in a number of years because the hatchery has been down, but it was always good work by our resource management team to take the initiative to have projects like these and try and support the salmon stock. Next slide. So the monitoring and trapping of invasive European green crab. Gab and I talked about this. It was a number of years ago that we started this initiative.
It was about 3 years ago.
Yeah. And Gavin mentioned last couple of years we had some employment numbers issues that we couldn't really pursue this, but he mentioned that it would definitely be worth picking back up just because of the, it destroys the eelgrass and the native species within, like, being on top of these things is something we need to take seriously. So, next slide. In the past, we did the Dungeness crab larvae. So in this particular picture, Gavin said that Dwayne was out. They actually ended up filling the whole bucket. So it was good to see that, the native species are, still thriving, and but it's about trying to manage and um, make sure those invasive species are not taking over. Next slide. Going into the whale salvage. So there's actually 2 whales that are being displayed within our Timswea Museum. I invite everybody to take a minute to head in and check out our museum. The bones and artifacts in there, it's a part of our history and our culture. And but these whales in particular are pretty spectacular, and it's to me to be able to go in and see the size and how big these creatures are, like, that are within our SWIA, and we share this territory with them, is it's pretty spectacular. But so we salvaged 2 deceased whales, one southern resident orca and a fin whale as well. Both whales were honored with the ceremony, and as mentioned, the bones were preserved, and they're now being displayed in the Timswea Museum. Next slide. So the fin whale we call the ambassador of the deep sea, the Huamstut 8 Tlep de Cinque. Gav, were you?
I was a part of that recovery. I wasn't a part of the orca, but the size of that fin whale was just massive. I couldn't believe how long it was. I didn't take part in cutting it open because the smell was just a little too much for me.
Yeah. So next slide, man. So we did try and play this video. It's a little glitchy, but this was the recovery of the orca that was brought back from just outside the islands here. So yeah, it was a part of the DFO with our resource management team, Sid Quinn. We brought it back to the bay, and as said, we looked at preserving it, and then once we sent it out, the bones were returned to us, and like I said, it's now displayed in the Timswea Museum. Yeah, so we couldn't really get the sound going, but yeah, this is just the recovery of our orca. You can kind of see it just behind the DFO boat on the left side. And sorry, Suzanne, you mentioned the name of this whale was
J34.
34?
Yeah.
Yes.
J34 double stuff, I think, is how they referred to him. I was reading a little bit about him, and it's a family lineage name. They named him after cookies. One was Oreo and one was something else, and then because he was a big guy, they called him double stuff.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Next slide, Hans. Do you want?
Sure. Derelict vessels and marine spills. Over the years, there have been a lot of derelict boats building up in Porpoise Bay here. And a couple of years ago, me and one of my coworkers went out and took GPS locations in the inlet, and for a guy that was coming to salvage them. I believe he grabbed 4 boats a couple of years ago out of the inlet. 2 close to Porpoise Bay. One was in the Egg Menmon Channel, and one just outside of Sandy Hook. But it's an ongoing to remove those derelict vessels.
Next slide. Yeah, thanks.
Yep. Ghost gear and marine trash removal. Over the last couple of years, we have encountered ghost gear in the water while we were doing our micro trolling for Chinook sampling. And like within one day, we had caught 2 crab traps that were didn't have enough line on them and the buoy was too small to keep them buoyant. So when we do come across that gear, we do pull it out of the water, we dispose of it at the landfill. Marine Chinook sampling, we're over the last 4 years, we've been targeting juvenile Chinooks, trying to get DNA sampling and also putting pit tags in them to try and see where these fish are coming from and where are they going back to. This year was probably our best year for catching samples. I believe we caught upwards to 50 Chinook. In previous years, we caught maybe 2 to 5 samples. So it was actually really well getting enough samples done this year to see where these fish are actually coming from.
So as mentioned, Dwayne, this is one of our senior guys. He's been with the resource management team for about
35 years.
35 years. So he does a lot of the work out there. The data contributes to fisheries management decisions with regards to protecting our Chinook stocks. Gav also mentioned that this is usually done during the wintertime. Is that overnight or?
No, it's during the daytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's another one that was overnight, so we'll get into that later. Next slide. The marine sockeye smolt release. So this was done out towards Saginaw Lake. Sockeye smolts by boat to the marine release sites located near Texada Island. Unfortunately, with like a lot of cutbacks on the budgets, with like the DFO and everybody's feeling the pinch of, the financial crisis that are everybody's facing. This particular release has kind of been on hold. We don't really have the resources for it right now, but in the past it's been a consistent practice. So hopefully once things turn around, we can restart this one as well. The pinniped surveys, so they count hauled out pinnipeds, seals, and sea lions to assess the predation risk to our migrating sockeye salmon. Yeah, I mentioned there's about 6 islands just outside Saginaw Lake that do these surveys. Do you want to go to that?
Yeah, during these surveys, we go out at the lowest tide we can possibly get, and we try to do it around May 15th, which is our peak for our Saginaw smolt enumeration. And then we try to do 2 surveys. A couple years ago, we counted out like it was over 400 out there. But over the last couple of years, we've averaged out about to 120. And then yeah, it takes us about 2 hours to go around all the islands and try to make sure we get a good, accurate count. It's GPS and
Yeah, and recently the nation took an initiative to remove fish farms from within our SWIA. And Gav had mentioned that we're starting to see more whales coming through our territory. And he thinks that that decline over the last few years is a direct result of our whales, killer whales coming back into our territory and, having that natural population. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's pretty great. Next slide, hands. Our shoreline monitoring. This first word is new to me. So the dinoflagellate algae bloom, I believe is did I get that right, Hans? Yeah, okay. So the red tides are starting to occur more frequently with, the climate change, the warmer weathers, and, the nation's taking that climate change pretty seriously. We're attending our BC First Nations assemblies, and it's a really big topic. And I recently went for the first month I was in office, and the information that was passed along is pretty concerning. And that's why I want to continue to engage in these types of conversations to make sure, like I said, I'm talking the talk and walking the walk here. So sure, with this, we're also seeing an increased number of sea urchins within Porpoise Bay. Gav said.
over the last couple of years, we got our boat parked down in Mackenzie's Marina, and like I always take a look in the water every time I'm walking up the ramp. And over these last couple of years, there's been more of abundance of sea urchins around, which is good to see.
Yeah. Next slide, Hans. Is there?
I don't know who that.
No.
I think they just
I thought that was Gavin the picture.
They just took a random picture.
Yeah. So herring spawn surveys understand the importance of the herring for a lot of our animals within our SWIA, right? The herring is important. We capture it for genetic sampling. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, Gav said that we
haven't really come across herring spawn up Salmon Inlet where we normally see it over the last, I would say, 3 years, I guess. Even in the last couple of years, there's been minimal in Porpoise Bay spawning on the nets and pylons down at the dock.
Mhm. And I recently did like a green shore course, and a part of this green shore was kind of bringing back our shorelines to their natural state. And they've said that in doing this, they're starting to see native populations come back to their natural habitats. Like when we do build these, instead of having those armor shorelines where things get eroded, having that natural will actually bring back some of the the fish and birds and everything. So yeah, it's something that we're looking at, and hopefully that will help support this as well. Next slide, Hans. So Gav wasn't a part of this one, but the resource management did some investigating for leak sewer discharge at Port Stallishan there. They dove down to inspect, as well as used remote operated underwater vehicles, utilized scuba divers, and it's since been remedied, thankfully. Next slide. Do you want to take this one?
Collaborative enforcement. Shíshálh Resource Management Department worked closely with DFO enforcement staff to deal with illegal fishing activities in the SWIA. We don't normally come across many. We did come across some people fishing in our territory for prawns earlier this year, but we contacted DFO and they rectified and they pulled their gear. It was nice that they worked pretty fast at doing that.
And a part of this, the nation's looking at building, we call it a guardianship program. So it's actually like working coinciding with the DFO and actually having our nation members and our resource management team be able to enforce this kind of stuff. So it's kind of in the beginning stages. We had a gentleman from Clayaman come down and kind of start the process with our nation. So it's in the works, and I think it's a really great initiative. There's funding for it, so it's something that the leadership has started on the previous term, and we're definitely going to try and carry that on. So next slide.
Estuary monitoring, recording marine mammals, staging salmon, eelgrass, kelp forest, and birds using a helicopter and drone. On an odd year, we do pink flights up our inlet. So we'll do about 8 flights during a pink year. A non-pink year, we'll do about 4 or 5. We'll spend about 5 minutes in the estuary flying around looking for seals and seeing what kind of eelgrass and seaweed we come across.
Next slide. So that's all we have for the slides. But a couple things that I wanted to mention was we also do the estuary monitoring at Sakana from July to September. And Gav says that's actually overnight shifts that our nation members are up there counting. And what kind of numbers do we get?
My first couple of years, the numbers were very low, but over the last 2 years, we've actually reached up over 100 sockeye returning. When my first year, there was 3. So numbers hopefully keep going up in the right direction. Last year, I believe we had like 200 and around 250, I believe. So it was great. One night last year, there was like about 25 that came back in one evening. So hopefully it keeps on trending the right way.
Wow. You guys, I just like I feel like a round of applause for like the list of projects. I just have to say this, like it's unbelievable the amount of work the nation is doing, especially given the capacity constraints that I think most people who are aware, of this work and the challenges and the funding challenges, it's just like it's mind blowing. And I do want to say, like, huge hands up and thanks, and also reflect back to how you started with your acknowledgement of Sid. Like Sid is just this unbelievable force of
Cool.
nature for fish, and it's pretty amazing how much capacity he built internally, and to watch you guys in the next generations like come along and fill these spaces and carry this work forward. It's just, yeah, it's pretty amazing. So thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna move into the question Q&A part. Hannah, I'm gonna ask you maybe to stop the screen share. Yeah, and so I'm gonna encourage everybody, if you've got any questions or comments, please pop them in the chat. If you don't want to ask, right straight up, or put your hand up and you'll pop up um, in our Zoom, and we'll see you. Um, I've got Holly. Holly's comment is just she's so impressed with all the work that is being done to monitor and preserve the beautiful lands and waters. And yeah, like just big gratitude, I think. Um, Hannah's the first in with the question. That's great. Go ahead, Hannah.
Sorry to kick it off. I think to echo what Holly said, I think it's just incredible to hear about directly from you guys all of the work that you're doing to monitor and protect and steward these lands and waters. It's really incredible to see. And I think it was a really incredible decision to get fish farms out of the SWIA. We actually just had an event last night where we screened a film called Salmon Secrets that was about the fight against fish farms in other areas. And had a talk by Alexandra Morton. So it's been on my mind, and I want to know what you've observed since the fish farms have been decommissioned. I know you were saying that you've seen more returns of marine mammals, and I'm just wondering what else you've seen in the waters after that decision.
Yeah, I'd actually ask kind of Gav that too, because I'm a little new to the position. I'm still trying to educate myself a bit on it, but kind of like below these fish farms, Gav said they had done some testing, to make sure all of the marine life and everything below the fish farms were going to bounce back. He said that they did some samples. He hasn't seen anything come back. Whether or not his manager has is a different story. So something I could look into. But Councillor Phil Paul actually brought this up early in our term, how happy he was that these fish farms were gone, and he said that the salmon stock returning, like everything is starting to bounce back in our SWIA, which is it's an amazing thing. I think it was kind of long overdue, and for a lot of places, other nations, that are kind of battling the same thing right now as well, right? So it's important work, and I'm happy that we did it. And yeah, I think over the next couple of years, we'll be able to have more of a response of the overall impact and the benefits of removing it. But yeah.
Yeah, you might be interested to hear last night in our conversation with Alexandra Morton. She said she was just blown away and so like just so grateful when Shíshálh Nation just basically declared fish farms out. Because it's a huge thing to do. And
Yeah.
without the leadership of shíshálh Nation, like that would have been, years of fight and all the things, and what happened in the Broughtons and like the occupation of the floats, and like that was crazy and a lot. And so like last night at our talk, it was like, do people know this? And so, like I think this is one of these things that the work that the nation does, not everybody really realizes this just core benefit to society of not having to spend all these resources because of the leadership that the nation has taken in this regard. It's like, again, thank you for all the good work and for not making us have to do all that work too,
Yeah.
right?
Well, like you said, it's past leadership. I wish I could take, some of it, but
Yeah.
it's past leadership and, the being stewards of the land, right? Protecting our waters, protecting our food, like, it all coincides with our values. And the scary thing, Gav actually mentioned that he talked to somebody that worked on one of those, and he said they put these cameras in to monitor to check the health of them, and the mutations that were in these salmon was just like terrifying, right? So we're very happy to see those gone, and yeah, thanks for the question, Han.
Yeah. We've got a question in the chat from Holly. Does the land and resource management team connect with the cultural departments and community to restore cultural practices in places that are being restored environmentally?
Yeah.
Great question, Halls.
Yeah, we do work closely with the cultural department when they need to use our boat. We're more than willing to help them get up the inlet to monitor their stuff as well. And anything we come across that we don't think should be happening, we would inform them right away.
Cool.
Sorry, I don't have a whole lot of insight in that one, Halls.
It's all good. We've got a hand up, so maybe we'll go to Sarah and then come back to your question, Maggie.
Unamum Sharap, Unamum Sharap Sviayatan. I'm sure I didn't pronounce this well. Yesterday I went to a talk given by Candice Campo on your language and the connection with the land, and I'm so stoked by the work you youth are doing, because you're the next generation. You're doing it. As you said, you walk the talk, and so I'm hoping that the community that is outside or close to the Shíshálh Nation can also support all your work, because this is a work of everyone. Not, everyone has to sort of, and I know some of the people attending this talk, they are doing some of the work. They're doing sampling of forage fish, and they stream keeping and everything, and all that is really worth it. It's really like it's for the next 7 generations. So I really raise my hands to the work you're doing, and I hope you get all the support you need, and that somehow with the DFO, there's a better understanding of the role you play as stewards of the land, including the ocean. So I thank you very, very much for all the work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much for that acknowledgement, Sarah. It was nice that myself and another young guy named Jamel Paul were both voted in. We're both in our early 30s, and hopefully we have a long career in politics here. Try not to upset too many people, right? But that's all part of the job is, being the face of the nation and making those tough decisions and standing up for our rights and our title and everything that, like I said, is part of our core values. And thank you for mentioning our allies as well, Sarah. Because it is tough to walk this road, having those people beside you to support you and build you up and share that message is, it's just as important as doing the hands-on work itself. So thank you for acknowledging that, Sarah. My hands go up to you.
Thank you very much.
Which is a pretty good segue for Diane Sanford to pop in. Yeah.
There I am. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say it is so good to see so many familiar faces here. Gavin, I think it's been a long time since I've spoken to you. And Ben, I'm so glad you're in this position. It's the first time I've had the chance to meet you. But yeah, and people that are here today in this talk, it's great stuff. It's heartening. Really nice to hear the word eelgrass in your studies. And if there's anything I can do to, give you past knowledge about what boats have been removed or where eelgrass beds are, I think, if there's any kind of thing like that I can help you with from the past. And from past work that's been done. And it was lovely to see some of those historical photos of Darlene and yeah, it's great. It brought back a lot of fun times we had. We worked out of McLean Bay a few times actually, doing eelgrass transplanting. So that was very cool. But
Okay.
anyway, I'm so glad you are, carrying on and you've got all of these projects I've heard about and some I've participated in, and you're covering it well and keep up the good work.
That's amazing. Thank you, Diane. Yeah, I'll reach out, and like I said, part of that history is,
Mm.
it was lost with Sid, so I'm trying to connect with as much as I can because, I need to have all the information to be able to make those informed decisions and the right decision.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
not,
Any way I could help at all, just
yeah,
yeah, just call on me.
yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you, Diane.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a big part of what these talks and this project, the Sunshine Coast Ocean Festival is really about. Like it's the weaving of connections, like our elders that have worked on these projects forever and that have kept the data and that have seen things that younger generations won't even see, like these massive salmon returns that, like I remember our founder, Dan Bauman of the SCCA talking about, up the Zuni Narrows and how you could walk across the creek and on the backs of the salmon and like that's not a reality in my lifetime even, and then especially for you guys it's like holy cow. And now the removal of the fish farms and all these other pieces that we're doing together, that might actually be a reality again for your kids, my grandkids.
Yeah.
And if it's yesterday we had we had a DFO scientist who came with like climate modeling that was hind casting the Salish Sea. So they're building these, models and then using them, like checking the models with observations. So like real data, so that we know that the models are right. All models are wrong, some models are useful. It looks like a really, really good model, but we also need those data, like the current on the ground data that you guys have, that folks like Diane and the Friends of Forage Fish Society have, to keep ensuring that we're not, guessing the wrong things. And so that the management measures, right, and the funding that comes from government that's supposed to help us protect and conserve and restore these things comes through. Because that's a huge, like, I just feel the capacity issues and the funding challenges are crazy. They're not going to get better. How can we support each other and each other's projects and, weave the community, weave the relationships and the support for you guys? It's a big question I have, is how can our different groups, our projects support you?
I honestly, I've come across this question a couple times, and it's about having these conversations, right? Like it starts here, right? It's about building those relationships, especially for me being, new to leadership. Like I need to navigate and meet new people and rebuild relationships or, connect those old relationships. So yeah, I think like I said, it starts with these types of conversations to be able to say, hey, I have knowledge of this, or hey, we're doing this, right? And being able to, like, it was a conversation with the district of Shíshálh about our green shores, right? She mentioned that, in the past there hasn't really been a great line of communication, and it's like opening that up and working together is, there's so many different levels of governments that, we can all chip in to make this project or whatever the dream or focus is to come alive and be fruitful and not just today, but like mentioned, like the seventh generation, right? Like I part of my campaign was, I have three sons and I want them to have a future like that. That is deep inside me, that, I want them to be able to have fish for food. I want them to be able to go hunting. I want them to, break down barriers and there's not like a nation I'm versus you or you, it's not you versus me or us versus them. It's like let's come together and build and because climate change is real, it's scary, and it has a lot of effect on a lot of you know how the flows of the rivers and creeks stop and the fish go, and and then it affects the pinnipeds and the whales, and like it's all tied together. And so yeah, I think, having these conversations and, meeting each other and, having a path forward is, yeah, that's all about the beginning. And thank you for the question, Susan.
Yeah. There's a beautiful comment in the chat that says honoring our collective knowledge and ancestral knowledge while also approaching conversations and solutions collaboratively, holding both of these at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, I think that in our settler colonial society, we have done this thing where we separate in traditional, long Indigenous knowledge and understanding of systems and science and like kind of put them in like as if they're two different things.
Mhm.
Not.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the things that these conversations are really highlighting is that, like it's all one thing.
Yeah.
And what the indigenous societies have done that our settler society hasn't is to think holistically. Like we do the silos and we think, oh, how much money can I make off of, my fish farm or my whatever business that I have, rather than think of the impacts as a whole. And it's really like, we can't do that anymore. We're at this point where if we don't think like Indigenous people and act like that, then we're in deep trouble. So yeah, so not to get all heavy, but because this is a really good this is really good news to see the next generation stepping into the political spaces too. That's another thing that came up for us last night and the talk with Alex was, we need people who have conscience and who get it to run for office and be elected. And then the rest of us need to hold those people to account. Not everybody's going to hold it as strongly in their heart as you. And so I think I want to say there's also the need to press the different levels of government, right? Like federal government, DFO, the provincial government's doing all kinds of things right now that, don't feel so good. That and we rely on the nations who have more leverage to do that. So, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, it's pretty exciting that, I got elected with Jamel. And being able to walk this path together, I think has benefited both of us so far. But both Phil and Selena have been on council for a number of years. So having that knowledge, but our newly elected Haywo's Warren, this is his 8th term.
Yeah.
So he knows how to navigate and he's been teaching and sharing. And so like the balance of our team is just like, it's a really perfect balance right now. And that transition from, the next generation and having, the past generation kind of influence us and teach us and but also bringing our own values and our own, ways and our own perspective, right? Like it's been a really good 4 months so far. And I'm looking forward to the future and continuing talks like these to, you get our word out there and show that the nation is, taking initiative and conserving and tackling climate change and all these good things. So
Yeah. Well, we some of the projects, I mean, usually we focus on the projects, but this feels like a bit of a different conversation because, although we're all in community together, we're all busy working on our things and we don't always connect and see each other. So this feels like really important connection kind of conversation. I did want to circle back though to a couple of the projects because I didn't know that the nation is doing like monitoring and trapping of invasive European green crabs. Like that's a big thing. But also where did I write this? Sockeye, smolt release, and Chinook sampling. And I think you said that these are things that the nation has been doing, but isn't doing now because of maybe funding. Is that so?
Yeah, DFO had some funding cut back this year, so our smolt release was one of the things that got cut back. And another thing was we were pit tagging every coho we got out of Sakana, but they cut that back this year as well due to funding.
Okay. We have a lot of our community of interest is, so broad. Last night at the talk, we had this young kid, he maybe, I don't know, maybe 12 years old, and he was like, I love fish. I love fishing. Like, what's your favorite fish? And he's like, coho. And I'm like, okay, why? Anyway, so like we've got this audience of folks who now can hear about the projects that you guys are working on. If there's ever an opportunity for like volunteerism or ways for the general public outside the nation to support, how would a person do that? Like if they wanted to do fin clipping or counting fish or something like that, is there a way?
There probably is a way. We'd probably have to bring that up with my manager, but she probably would be okay with stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's kind of ties into our previous conversation, working together and, I guess getting that out to the community of what we're doing, because like you said, you haven't heard that some of the projects that we're doing are, active. And so maybe it's a little bit more kind of getting the word out there and then showing people. And then, the nation, you can always call our nation and ask for, the resource management and then say, hey, I'm looking to volunteer. Is there anything I can do to help? Right. I'm just starting that conversation. Our manager Isabel, I think she'd be very open to that, like Kevin said. So yeah, just opening that conversation for sure.
Cool. Before I go to Sarah, I'm going to do this again, but I have participated on behalf of the SCCA in the shíshálh, BC land use planning process.
Okay.
And I was blown away by, the amount of work and the resources that the nation has put into this and the care and the holistic nature of it. And I've participated in a lot of engagement processes and land use planning stuff. And by far, this ongoing process, is the most well informed as far as like access to data and mapping and transparent and thoughtful processes I have ever experienced. And I just, again, hands up, most people don't know that. There's the elephant in the room is this fear in some of society that Indigenous sovereignty and leadership is some scary thing to them. From my experience, shíshálh Nation is just doing it way better than any other government I've ever seen do it in a more inclusive way. So I just couldn't let this day go, this talk come to an end without saying that. And also, the dock management plan process has been really, really hard. And it's been ongoing for decades. And there is such a huge body of work there. I want to acknowledge Sid again, for carrying that work forward, that really heavy work forward, and say thank you, because it's difficult work and you guys have done it with such grace, honestly. Yeah, and most people don't really know. I sat at the Dock Management Plan Advisory Group table, so I know what things get said. And I know how difficult it can be. And I just feel like there's this bigger acknowledgement that's warranted. I just thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne. And that dock management plan has been in the works for almost as long as I've been alive, if not longer, right? So it's not new. It's not something that, hey, we're going to take your docks away. Like, this has been something that's been, brought up for a lot of years, and, probably goes back to my grandpa's term back when, he was on council, right? So, each and every generation has their, their hills to climb, their battles to fight. And, I'm glad they did that, because it's, it's important work that they did. I'm happy to see that, there's a lot of collaboration going on with the dock management plan now, and we're looking at different ways to deal with the issues, and it's really good work. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Suzanne.
Yeah, we've got a talk tonight with we've got a short film called Plastic Ocean, and it's about the overwhelming holy cowness of, plastics in the ocean. And we've got the Ocean Legacy Foundation, who the nation has partnered with the BC government to support the dock management plan and the people who are getting their, spalling styrofoam docks out of the sea, and helping the private property owners in a way that, again, we've never seen anything quite like this, right? Like yeah. So I know you weren't able to come tonight, Ben, but I hope I really hope people will come to that and hear about that project and the good work of making sure the garbage doesn't get into the ocean in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sarah, Ben's got a.
I actually had a note slide on my desk here. Our meeting's postponed at 1 o'clock, so I can stay.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna. Do you want to have a last word?
Sorry, that was Sarah or me?
Do you?
I'll be quick. I just wanted to ask you if you were going to have a table or representative of your department at during the shíshálh days. That would be a good opportunity to let the public, the great public, know about your actions. And the shíshálh also has a newsletter every 3 months. So maybe if you want to share some of the progress you made, that would be very positive and entice people to give a hand. Many hands make it better. It's not quite the expression, but you know what I mean. So Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You as well, sir. That's a really good idea. Thank you. I can certainly look into that. I'm very excited for our shíshálh days. I've been working with the district of Shíshálh for. I'm a big soccer fan. My boys play soccer. I'm a soccer coach, so we got to get a couple of FIFA viewings at a block party at Ravenscry on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th. So yeah, the shíshálh days is great, and definitely a platform to get the communication out. So thank you for that, Sarah.
Awesome. Well, Ben and Gavin, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time for, working with your team to put together the presentation. It's so fun to have Holly and Evan, who used to work for the SCCA as part of this conversation. And we're just really grateful for all the work you do and for being here with us. And I just want to put a shout out to Alfonso, and the men's paddling club are going to join us they're coming in with the canoe. I just heard this yesterday, on Sunday at 11:30 at the beach at Sukhum Mission Point. So it's really great to have the nation as part of our Ocean Festival this year so much. It's just really, it's awesome. Thank you for your time, and get out of here.
I was actually invited to come paddle on that, so maybe we'll see you there. But I just want to take a moment to thank everybody that participated in this chat today. My hands go up to you. Thank you for taking the time to sit with us and share this space. I hope you all have a great day today, and I look forward to working with you all in the future. And thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Hannah, for facilitating this and getting me in here. I appreciate you.
We're so grateful to have you and to have you, Gavin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Lunch.
Before we close the meeting, I'm just going to do the quick reminder that our next NEMO talk tomorrow, Friday, June 12th, noon to 1 p.m., we're going to be hearing from Eden Looms, conservation campaigner with CPAWS BC, about marine protected areas and the Sea of Glass sponge reefs. And then, of course, tonight we've got Ending Ocean Plastic Pollution, a short film screening, and a presentation by Ocean Legacy, 7 p.m. at Sunshine Coast Arts Center. And then, of course, the grand finale on Sunday, our World Oceans Day celebration with booths and activities and art and food and ice cream. And we hope to see everybody there. Huge thanks again, and enjoy your day.
All right.